As many of you are aware, Pokemon Sun and Moon are less than 2 months away, and at this point in time, Game Freak has revealed mostly everything about Pokemon Sun and Moon that they want you to know anyways. I'm looking at you, you know what? I better not even say his name. With that in mind, I decided it may be time to take a wider look at all the information we've been given about Pokemon Sun and Moon so far and wrap it all up in one big video with the top 5 best features in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now remember that this list is my opinion, blah blah blah, so if you disagree, go ham on me in the comments or something. I really don't know. I'll also be sure to cover some of the more important honorable mentions, if you will, in this list because there's quite a few cool features in Pokemon Sun and Moon that didn't unfortunately make this list. But regardless, let's jump into the list for today's top 5 video. Coming in at number 5, we have one of the more unique features included within Pokemon Sun and Moon, and that is the Rotom Pokedex. Now, this awesome new Pokedex features really awesome capabilities. Although it may not seem like much to some people, this special Pokedex has the capability of literally talking to you. Now, whether or not that actually has a voice in game or not is completely unconfirmed and unlikely, but when have you ever had a Pokedex that talks to you before? Oh, well, actually, wait, the anime. The anime has always had a Pokedex that talks to you. I think that's the one thing that always sets the Pokedex in the anime apart from the games. But the ones in the games may be pretty cool for encyclopedia purposes, but who the heck actually uses a Pokedex anymore? Whenever I need to find out something about Pokemon, I usually just whip out my phone and Google it. I bet your dinky little Rotom Dex can't do that, can it, Game Freak? One of the coolest features about this Pokedex that comes along with its talking functionalities is the fact that during your adventure, the Rotom Dex will guide you along the way in your adventure. It'll essentially be your personal travel companion in the games, similar to how Brock and Misty were Ash's travel companions in the first seasons of the anime, I suppose. The main character has always had other companions and rivals they've interacted with along the way in previous generations, but this time around, it seems like they've gone above and beyond those standards and made it possible for you to have your own personalized travel companion that will give you info on where to go next, what the best route to take from your current position would be, and give you general ideas of what to do or where to head based on NPCs that you've talked to. The Rotom Dex also comes with several other cool features, such as the ability to take pictures with one of its apps. This itself is a really awesome feature, and it completely reinvents the camera guides that you'd find all around the region in X and Y. This way it allows you to do it all yourself and actually feel like you're the one taking those pictures as memories on your own camera, or Rotom. What's also really neat about this is the fact that it's also considered to be very rare in the sense that only a few trainers in the entire world, not even just the Alola region alone, but the entire world have one of these special Pokedexes, which leads me to believe that the origins of these Pokedexes must have been specifically manufactured with like having an actual Rotom inserted to the Pokedex somehow, so that it could take control of the system and become the brain of it essentially. I don't know. Just like how Rotom was able to animate random appliances in the past, it's now able to do the same thing with the Pokedex. And it makes for a perfect travel companion for those who are good at getting lost in video games, like myself, and it'll be there for you when you need directions and tips on where to go next. Now, coming in at the number 4 spot today, we've got the revamped trainer customization. Now, unlike in Pokemon X and Y, where we had a really awesome introduction to this feature of being able to customize the overall look of your trainer, although it was quite lacking in real customizability, like sure, you could customize your pants or jacket, hair, hat, shoes, shirt, etc. Let's say there was a design for an article of clothing that you really liked. There wasn't a way that you could change the color of which that piece of clothing came in. So if you wanted to get a shirt that looked nice on your trainer and you found one that came in green by default, then you're stuck wearing that color and there's absolutely no way for you to be able to change it. The interesting thing is, now in Pokemon Sun and Moon, you're fully able to customize your trainer from top to bottom, but not only customizing their apparel in a multitude of colors and different clothes, but now you can also completely edit their facial structure, colors, and shades of just about everything on your trainer. From customizing your skin tone to customizing your eyebrow color, you can do a ton more than you previously could when it came to customizing your trainer, but now it seems that Game Freak has tried to appeal to a more larger audience this time around, which would make sense as a feature also to attract a wider audience who may not want a childish looking character at default and may want to customize it more, or just in general be able to satisfy those who aren't happy with the default look of their trainers. Which, may I add, their marketing strategies this year have been excellent, so you already know I had to include one of the best features of all time onto this top 5 list. Coming in at number 3, we've got ourselves the Battle Royale. Now, this feature in Pokemon Sun and Moon features the ability to add in a real free-for-all playstyle into the metagame. In case you're unfamiliar with what a free-for-all is in Pokemon standards, it stems from the idea of initiating a double battle with 4 players, and instead of it working out to be a 2v2, you have all 4 players pit against one another instead of working on teams. This would usually result in some funny rage moments between friends and make for some great moments to be done on the Wi-Fi side of things. One of the slight drawbacks of having free-for-alls done in this method is the fact that if one side faints, the entire game is finished, meaning that if there's still 2 Pokemon left on one side only, instead of those 2 being able to face off against each other, the battle just automatically ends once one side has completely lost all their Pokemon. This would completely prevent the battle from actually ending and make players unable to determine a real winner. Usually most people call the winner at whoever either had more Pokemon or whoever had the clear type advantage, but then again, you never know how a last minute play in a battle could turn out. Regardless, with the new Battle Royale feature, this allows players to fully take advantage of the free-for-all format and pit off against one another. This takes on the concept of a 1v1v1v1, and it's every man for themselves. I'm really glad Game Freak decided to add this feature into the game simply because this will make doing free-for-all so much easier as long as there's a bit of customizability to it. Then I can imagine this will be the absolute best way to host free-for-all matches for the future. The cool thing is with this feature, we can host tons of tournaments here on the channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that all turns out. If you'd like to take part in some of our Pokemon Sun and Moon live streams and play on stream with me, then make sure to click that subscribe button down below the video and make sure to click that bell next to the subscribe button afterwards, whether you're on mobile or desktop, to make sure you're receiving notifications for my channel for either an email or push notification, whichever one you'd prefer, and make sure to turn that on. This way you'll never miss an upload on my channel, assuming that the notification system actually works. Let's move on to number 2 for today's top 5. Coming in the number 2 spot today, we've got one of my personal favorite new features that are going to be included in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Say hello to the Festival Plaza. The Festival Plaza is a multiplayer hub for you to battle, trade, and do much more with other players over Wi-Fi versus just LAN connection, which would mean you could only play if your buddy was sitting next to you or playing alongside, which was the case for all Pokemon games before the 6th gen that had multiplayer hubs like this in them, such as the Entralink from Pokemon Black and White, which was a multiplayer hub but only worked for LAN connection-based play. But since Gen 6 runs off of Street Pass data, it made the PSS system a pretty well-balanced system where you could still interact with those specifically on your friends list, but this could also be used as a hub where you could connect to it and you could interact with people who are also playing the game at the same time as you. Maybe they're playing nearby you, like in the same city, or maybe they're even in the same part of the game as you when they're connected to the Festival Plaza, and that allows for the new system of the PSS to be transformed into a physical place that you can go to and interact with all the features of the PSS physically and play new revamped fun mini games that go along with it. An example would be the fact that you could see other trainers teleporting in during some of the shots in the new trailer. You're also able to see a small preview of the revamped GTS system, which in my opinion is looking really nice so far from the very limited gameplay and overview we got of it. However, it's looking like they've incorporated a bunch of different facilities around the plaza for you to go in and do different mini games in, such as Wonder Trade, GTS, battle arenas, and more. This is almost like a revamped version of the Join Avenue for Pokemon Black and White 2, or the Entralink for Pokemon Black and White 1, where it serves as a world that you can warp to and you can do special missions in it, games and quests and all that stuff in it, whilst interacting with other players by visiting their worlds. So in this case, just visiting the plaza itself is like visiting the Entralink because you're teleporting there, but then it serves to be more like Join Avenue, where as you progress in the story, more features will be unlocked and you'll be able to do more as the game progresses, essentially. It also seems to serve as a battle frontier facility of some kind, as there's a new type of currency that can be used to make purchases from the shops around the plaza by fulfilling other players' requests and doing missions and earning more coins with the regular world again. Now, before we move on to our number 1 spot today, I wanted to give a couple quick honorable mentions to a few features that I think are really awesome, but I didn't think would be interesting enough to beat our number 1 spot today. Let's start off with one honorable mention being the addition of side quests into the game. Side quests are something that Game Freak have experimented with several times previously within Pokemon. Usually in the after game is when you'd unlock them, because in previous generations there's always one way the story can end and play out, so you're constantly on a set path no matter which way you go. I'd like to see the ability to play through Pokemon Sun and Moon and be able to sort of to choose which path I take. Maybe you could visit any island in any order you feel like or something like that. One of the most notable and basically one of the only known side quests currently revealed for Pokemon Sun and Moon is the Pyukumuku Toss. This new mini-game side quest consists of talking to one of the beachgoers, and he offers you a cash reward to throw a bunch of Pyukumuku back in the ocean. Once you completed that, you're rewarded with cash and then you're on your way. Even though it may not seem like much, this new feature is really great for those who are struggling to afford a couple potions or revives before the next boss battle, and you've had a rough time saving your money or whatever the case may be. This is also really nice because I know back in X and Y, I spent way too much money buying clothes for my trainer. Knowing that there's a ton of new options in Pokemon Sun and Moon to customize my trainer, I'm quite sure on the fact I'll end up spending all my extra money on styling my trainer to my liking. So side quests, they're really not a bad thing in my opinion. Plus, it adds more content to the game overall. Also, another cool feature worth giving an honorable mention to is the new split evolution that Game Freak gave Rockruff. This Pokemon, Rockruff, is actually one of the few Pokemon to even have a split evolution of some kind, but it is one of the first Pokemon to have a version-exclusive split evolution with Lycanroc Midday form for Pokemon Sun and Lycanroc Midnight form in Pokemon Moon. I personally think this is one of the cooler features they decided to introduce because it not only makes it a bit more challenging for the player to find a way to complete their Pokédex and collect them all, but it's also really interesting to see that Game Freak took a new approach for this marketing tactic of placing two different Pokemon that evolve from the same Pokemon in opposite games, meaning that if you're in Sun, you can't get Lycanroc's Midnight form, you're stuck with the Midday form, which is really smart because unless you manage to trade someone with the opposite version, or you manage to come across one on Wonder Trade or something like that, then it sort of inclines more people to go out and buy the opposite version when they're able to, so that they can collect them all. One final honorable mention for this top 5 list is the fact that Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow are all compatible with Pokemon Sun and Moon via Pokebank. So this means that you can transfer all the Pokemon from Gen 1 all the way over to Gen 7. So you can transfer Pokemon from Red and Blue over to Sun and Moon and be able to get the regular versions of some of the Pokemon that got Alola forms in Sun and Moon. This is also a great way to get a Mew in your game right when Pokebank is released in Pokemon Sun and Moon as well. Now finally, coming in at our number 1 spot today, we've got, in my opinion, the coolest feature that they've added into Pokemon Sun and Moon that completely changes a core mechanic that we've come to love over the last 20 years and has completely revamped and changed it to something brand new and better. Of course, most old school fans of the games could argue that giving your Pokemon a TM or an HM to teach them a new move is something we've been doing since 1998 and it's something that shouldn't be changed. But what it seems like Game Freak has done is they've taken away all HMs seemingly and now have replaced them with the new Pokeride service. This new feature allows for players to call upon certain Pokemon and use their strength to help accomplish certain tasks. Like, for example, if you need a rock to be smashed and run down some rocky terrain, call up a Tauros for that. If you want to go soaring high above the Alola region and get a bird's eye view from above, call a Charizard for that. Let's say you want to cross some rough waters and you need the help of an aquatic Pokemon, call up a Lapras or a Sharpedo, they've got it all covered for you. Now the thing is, these examples of Pokemon I've given so far are the only Pokemon they've shown in the trailer so far, so to my understanding, I have no other reason to believe that there will be more Pokemon available to use with the Pokeride service, but I can definitely say I hope there will be more to choose from, and I'm sure there's more services in the Pokeride service they haven't shown yet. I imagine the farther you progress within the game, the more powerful and rare Pokemon may be unlocked for the Pokeride service, just like how you've unlocked HMs during the story of a regular Pokemon game. Regardless, from what we can deduct from all the trailers so far, it's that the Pokeride service has completely taken over the HM system within the game. The only reason I say that is it's redundant of having two of the same feature within the game, but just having different ways of doing it. I think Game Freak learned from this with Latios and Latias and Oras, because let's be honest, after you could soar once you got the Eon Flute, who the heck actually used Fly again after that? I'll be honest, I can't even remember the last time I used Fly. And I'd like to believe that soaring was one of the many features that Game Freak was beta testing to see how everyone reacted to it, and then they revamped it entirely for Sun and Moon. Hopefully there will be a similar kind of interaction available for flying / soaring in Pokemon Sun and Moon when you're on a Charizard and you're able to see the entire Alola region and everything, just like you could in Oras. That would be absolutely incredible. Overall though, I think that's a good enough reason to believe that HMs probably won't be making a return in Sun and Moon, which brings up a question of what the heck are gonna happen to TMs then? I have no idea, but I imagine they'll get revamped as well and turned into a new similar feature to what it was once before. Overall, I'd like to know what you legends are thinking. Please be sure to let me know down in the comments, what are you most excited for within Pokemon Sun and Moon? What was your favorite feature from this list, and was your favorite feature even on this list? If it wasn't, please let me know what your favorite feature is down in the comments. If you did go on to enjoy the video, please consider hitting that like button below the video. It only takes 2 seconds to do it, and I'd really appreciate it if you enjoyed the amount of work I put into this video. That said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be catching you legends in the next Pokemon Sun and Moon video.